The city lights shimmered like 1,000 lonely stars against the glass walls of the towering Valion Corporation. Inside, the marble-floored lobby stood silent and still, save for one man, Ethan Cross. He sat on the same leather couch every night, his tall frame slightly bent forward, his suit jacket folded beside him, his eyes fixed on the main entrance, as if expecting someone who never came. The janitors whispered about him. The late-night staff made guesses. Why would the CEO of one of the country's most powerful companies sit alone in the lobby every evening, long after everyone else had gone home? No one dared ask, but what they didn't see was the story behind those tired blue eyes, the grief, the waiting, the quiet ache that had replaced laughter in his life. For Ethan wasn't just a CEO. He was a single father, a man who had built empires from nothing, but couldn't seem to rebuild the one thing that mattered most. His bond with his daughter. That if you believe in kindness, love, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts just like yours. Ethan Cross had once been the face of success, young, brilliant, unstoppable. He and his late wife, Clara, had dreamed of a perfect life together, filled with laughter and love. But life had its own plans. When a tragic car accident took Clara away 3 years ago, Ethan's world collapsed. He threw himself into work, burying his pain beneath meetings, contracts, and headlines. His daughter, Aria, just 8 years old then, was sent to live with her grandmother in the countryside. Ethan told himself it was temporary, just until he could stabilize things. But days turned into months, and months into years. Now Aria was 11. She still called him Dad on the phone, but her voice had grown distant, unsure. Every night, Ethan stayed late in the office, finishing work no one had asked him to do, as if staying there made him less alone. Then, 3 months ago, his company hired a new evening custodian, a quiet young woman named Mara Jennings. Mara was the kind of person who carried her pain gracefully. She had a gentle smile that hid her struggles, and eyes that had seen too much too young. Life had not been kind to her either. She was a survivor, working 2 jobs to care for her ailing father. She noticed the man in the lobby from her very first night. It was hard not to. He looked so out of place. This man in an immaculate suit, sitting under the golden lobby light as if waiting for something only he could see. At first, she kept her distance. She swept the marble floors, polished the railings, and pretended not to notice his presence. But she couldn't ignore the way he checked the clock every few minutes, or the soft sigh that escaped his lips when he finally stood up each night, gathered his coat, and walked toward the elevator alone. There was something profoundly human about the sight. It broke through her own exhaustion, stirring something in her heart. One night, a thunderstorm hit the city. The building was nearly empty when the power flickered, and Mara found herself lighting the emergency lamps near the lobby. Ethan was there again, sitting quietly in the semi-darkness. For the first time, she saw something different in his eyes, not just weariness, but regret. She hesitated, then brought him a cup of coffee from the break room. He looked surprised, as though no one had done something kind for him in a long while. He thanked her softly, his voice calm but distant. That small moment became the beginning of something wordless between them. Over the next few weeks, they exchanged small smiles, a few polite words, nothing more. But Mara started to notice the pattern. Ethan always looked toward the glass doors at exactly 8:45 p.m. His phone would light up, he'd read something, his shoulders would drop, and then he'd stay, sometimes for another hour, staring at nothing. It wasn't until one late Friday night, when the rain was coming down in sheets and the city felt drenched in silver sadness, that she finally asked. She'd just finished mopping the last section of the floor when she turned to see him sitting there again, tie loosened, eyes tired. The clock ticked softly above them. Something in her heart refused to stay silent this time. She walked over, took a deep breath, and said quietly, "You waited for me?" He looked up, startled. For a moment, he seemed lost in the question. Then a small, almost broken smile crossed his face. "No," he said gently. "Not for you. But maybe yes. I don't know anymore." Mara sat across from him, folding her hands in her lap. He hesitated, then spoke again, his voice low and rough like gravel. "I wait here every night for my daughter. She doesn't know it. I told her she could come see me anytime she wanted, that I'd always be here. But she never comes. I think she stopped believing me a long time ago. His eyes glistened under the dim lobby light. The truth is, I wasn't there when she needed me most. I lost her mother, and instead of holding her close, I sent her away. I told myself it was for her own good, but it was for me. I couldn't face her without breaking. Mara felt her throat tighten. She had known pain, but this quiet confession from a man who had everything and nothing, hit her deep. She didn't speak for a long time, and neither did he. The sound of rain filled the silence between them. Finally, she whispered, "Maybe she's still waiting too, you know, just in her own way." That night changed something. Ethan began leaving work earlier, sometimes stepping out to the garden across the street, sometimes standing by the window with a faraway look. Mara would see him smile faintly when he got a text, or pause a little longer before heading to the elevator. One evening, he told her he'd sent Arya a letter, handwritten, not emailed, asking if she'd like to visit. She hadn't replied yet, but he was trying. Weeks passed. The staff noticed Ethan seemed different. He laughed during meetings. He greeted people in the hallways. The same man who had once been a silent shadow in the lobby now carried a quiet warmth that drew people in. Still, every night, he came downstairs at 8:45, just in case. Mara never asked again. She just smiled when she saw him, and he always nodded back, as if to say, "Still waiting." Then, one golden afternoon, as autumn leaves painted the city in amber light, Mara saw him sitting in the lobby again, but this time, not alone. A young girl with long brown hair sat beside him, her hands clutching a stuffed rabbit. They were laughing. The sound was soft but bright, filling the marble hall like sunlight. Ethan caught Mara's eye and smiled. A real, full smile that made him look 10 years younger. Arya looked up too, shy but curious, and waved. Mara waved back, blinking away the sudden sting of tears. Later that evening, as Mara passed by, she overheard Ethan telling his daughter, "You know, I used to wait here every night, hoping you'd come. I guess I needed to learn that sometimes, waiting is just another way of loving." Arya rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, "Then you waited for me, Dad." He nodded, eyes glistening. Always. From that day on, Ethan never sat alone again. Sometimes Arya came to the office after school, doing her homework in the lobby while her father finished work. Other times, they left together, hand in hand, the glow of the setting sun wrapping them in gold. Mara kept her quiet place in the story too, still cleaning, still smiling, but forever changed by what she had witnessed, and every now and then, Ethan would bring her a coffee, just the way she used to bring his. Neither spoke much about that stormy night when she'd asked the question no one else dared to. But they both knew it had been the start of everything that followed, because sometimes, the simplest question, the one whispered from one heart to another, can open the door to forgiveness, love, and second chances. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us bring more true and emotional stories like this to life.